Happy New Year, everyone. It's week 2, and I'm glad to be continuing with this YouTube episode. So I'm real excited to report back on my training, my progress. I'm sure this is boring to 99% of people who might stumble onto this. This is really intended to be for personal use and possibly for some value if I indeed am able to realize my goal of running sub 24 at the end of June at Western States. So I want to review what's been going on in my life and with my training for last week. So last week we had, for the company I work for, Continental Tire, they give us the week between Christmas and New Year's mostly off. I had a work day on Monday and then I had the rest of the week off. So I was able to get a couple projects done around the house, enjoy some time with the family. We're working on putting on a retaining wall at the side of our house and had my son, Craig, down from college to help us out with that, in addition to Lauren. So a good week there. Also, I'm a big believer in goals. As last year winded down, and as we start this year, it gave me a good opportunity to take inventory and do some accounting of how I did last year with my goals. So I'm a huge believer in goals. This goes back to my high school days. I was just enamored with the concept of being able to dunk, and I was an average size, at least for a basketball player, 6 foot, 6'1" guard, and I distinctly remember being the slowest kid on my freshman basketball team, and that had to do somewhat with just the stage of where I was with my growth and having some challenges with Osgood-Schlatter's disease. But whatever the case, I was the slowest on my freshman team, and between my freshman year and the start of my junior basketball season, I went from the slowest on freshmen to the fastest on varsity, and this had a direct correlation between some very aggressive goals that I had set for myself. By the time I could barely touch the backboard, I had set a goal that I wanted to be able to dunk by the time I was a junior in high school. And I sent away at the back of a Basketball Digest magazine for a jumping program that guaranteed that you could increase your vertical jump 6 inches within 6 weeks. And when I got the program, I was really pretty disappointed because it really looked like kind of a scam. I got a bunch of Xerox copies with stick figures drawn and basically a bunch of calisthenic, plyometric type of drills mixed in with some short interval sprints. So I figured, hey, put the money down, might as well do it. So I set myself some goals, some benchmarks, and even though I never finished the full 6 weeks, I had started and then fell short multiple times, but by having plugged away at it and just being consistent, I was able to accomplish that goal of being able to dunk by the time I was a junior. So I'm just a big believer in goal setting. I'm a huge fan of Zig Ziglar. I love his whole vision of being able to be the captain of your own ship, being able to see where you want to be, put the plan in place, get the resources you need to be able to get to the end goal, and then put the work in, and then being able to realize your own future. So a big believer in that. So with that said, last year I did a reconciliation of my goals. I had about 36, believe it or not, goals. Those were 6 under each of the following category. I had a spiritual goal. Let me make sure I get this right. I'm going to do a little bit of cheating here. So I had intellectual, spiritual, physical, financial, relationships, and career. Now with that said, did really well in the physical, intellectual, and financial. And I would be lying if COVID didn't affect some of these things, but when I look at what I did, I got about 7, I believe, which I think is 36% of my goals. And it sounds pretty bad. It's less than 50%. But with that said, I set challenging goals. As a race director of the Barclays Marathon, Lazarus Lake says, it's not really a challenge if there's no chance of failure. And I like to set high goals, but I like to make sure that they're achievable. So in terms of the physical ones, I wanted to do a little bit of bragging. I just felt 32 miles shy of hitting 3,000 running miles. And I really could have got that one, but I wanted to stay disciplined and follow Coach Megan's plan for me. So I ended up 32 miles shy. With my calisthenics, I like to do those almost every day. I ended up knocking out 12,358 push-ups, 5,877 pull-ups, and then, yes, one full day of planking, which comes out to about 4 to 5 minutes a day, depending on how I'm tracking. So, particularly proud of those. Intellectually, I set a goal to read 40 books, which is what I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years. But this year, when I say read, as a distance runner, you can imagine that it very much includes listening to audiobooks. But I got 29, and kind of interesting on the book side, as I looked over my list this year, some of the books that were my most enjoyable reads were ones that kind of surprised me. So I don't feel like I challenged myself as much as I'd like to with either maybe a little bit deeper books, maybe books that were more tied into my business, or even classics. But whatever the case, I knocked out 29 there. And then I was real glad, and really, to be honest with you, quite fortunate and blessed to reach my financial goals. I set some lofty ones, and thanks to selling our California house in a hot market and being invested in a really strong stock market, I was able to hit a couple of those goals as well. So the reason I'm here is that I wanted to talk about Western States. I want to talk about my training. I want to talk about how my body's feeling overall, given the amount of downtime and extra sleep I had, because last week I was largely off. I feel really good. I feel so far that the workouts have been really reasonable. I haven't been beating my body up too much. Last week I got 58.3 miles, and actually got a good amount of time on trails too. So I was able to run one day, Wednesday, with Rhonda, where we went to Santa Clara and took a nice easy pace as we learned some of the trails back there. So it's nice to have the conversation and the accountability of having a running partner. So hopefully, nothing wrong with Rhonda. I very much enjoy spending time with her, but hopefully I have some more running buddies that will fit into different intensity levels as I go forward. Very encouraged in terms of the easy run. Right now, Coach Megan is scheduling 6-mile easy runs at a perceived effort of between 4 and 6. And I'm definitely staying true to that, and my times are continuing to get a little bit faster. So Coach has me scheduled for roughly a 8:49 per mile pace, and I think I'm coming in about 8:35, which is easy with the one caveat, as where I live a little bit on top. I live on a little bluff, so which means it's nice to start out, because I always start out with a good amount of downhill, but as I return back from my loop, there's usually about a 350-foot climb to get back to my neighborhood. So even the easy runs during that last section are a little bit hard, and that section is typically about a half mile. Another nice discovery I found was Owens Loop. Now, I discovered this downtown St. George Trail before, but it really works nice in terms of my Western States training. And that's because even though it's not particularly challenging in terms of overall elevation gain, there's just a lot of craggy, rocky, scrambly sections that it's just really hard to get into a running rhythm. So it's definitely helping me run on rocks and technical terrain better. And there's also 3 or 4 areas that involve a very short but a scramble, where you really do get out of your rhythm and you have to start and stop, which is something that is certainly important in the high country section of western states. So that trail is about 3.5, 4 miles from where I live, and the loop is about, I think, 2.7 miles. So even if I don't drive out to the trails, I could incorporate that and get more technical training in my everyday workouts. So feel really good about that, but so far so good. Been staying on top of my stretching, and in addition to that, I also got a little bit extra strength as we've been working on a family project. We've been putting in a retaining wall on the side of our yard. So overall, good week. So far, no hiccups. So far, staying on task and on schedule. Everybody have a great week. See ya.